The mining convoy near the Andromeda Rift had seen dead space before. Entire star systems collapsed into silence, drifting wreck fields where even light felt hesitant to travel. But nothing prepared them for what their scanners just picked up. A mass, too large to be debris, too structured to be natural. "Commander, you need to see this," a young sensor operator whispered, voice cracking. On the main holo display, something slowly emerged from the rift's black fog. At first it looked like a shadow cutting through space itself. Then the shape sharpened, angular hull plating, broken antenna spires, and long-range cannons still intact despite centuries of decay. A warship. Human design. The bridge went silent. "That classification doesn't exist anymore," the convoy captain said, stepping forward. "Humans were erased from galactic records 200 years ago." But the scanner disagreed. "Identification, UES Valiant." A cold chill spread through the crew. No one spoke the name out loud. It was a myth buried in forbidden archives. A last resistance warship from the human collapse era, supposedly destroyed during the final purge of Earth's defenses. And yet here it was. Alive. Drifting. Waking. Because deep inside the vessel, something clicked. A heartbeat returned. Captain Elias Ward opened his eyes. For a moment there was only darkness. Then red emergency lighting flickered across his vision, cutting through frost and glass. His lungs burned as cryofluid drained away, his muscles screaming as if time itself had forgotten how to move him. Alarms roared through the ship. Critical system failure, crew status, deceased, reactivation PROTOCOLS, manual override. Elias forced himself upright. Around him, rows of frozen human crew floated in their pods, faces pale, eyes closed forever mid-dream. Dust and ice coated everything like a tomb preserved in metal. Except him. He was awake. That wasn't supposed to happen. His memory came in fragments. Battle alarms, evacuation orders, Earth burning in distant simulations, and then nothing. A gap in time that felt like death. "Where am I?" he rasped. A calm synthetic voice answered instantly. "Bridge status compromised. External space unknown sector. Time elapsed since last log entry, 217 years. Elias froze. 2 centuries. The war should have been over. Humanity should have been gone. But then the ship shuddered violently. Impact alarms screamed. "Unknown vessels DETCTED," the AI Nova announced. "Weapons locked on target." Elias staggered toward the command console, gripping the edge as gravity systems flickered. Through the cracked viewport ahead, he finally saw them. Ships. Dozens of them. Alien warships forming a perfect ring around the Valiant like hunters, surrounding a wounded beast. Their hulls were pristine, modern, vastly superior. And their weapons were already charging. A transmission opened instantly. "Cold dominant, inhuman." "Unidentified vessel," a voice demanded. "You have entered Verk's Dominion-controlled space. State your origin." Silence filled the Valiant bridge. Elias stared at the fleet. Then at the frozen bodies of his crew. Something inside him tightened, not fear, not confusion. Recognition. Not of the ships, but of the feeling. "Ward." He stepped forward, placing a trembling hand on the command console. Systems flickered weakly as the ship tried to obey an ancient officer it barely remembered. Nova spoke again. "Captain Ward, weapon systems are partially functional, but if we engage, survival probability is extremely low." Elias let out a slow breath. Outside, alien cannons brightened like dying stars. A countdown had begun. 10 seconds until annihilation. On every alien bridge surrounding him, officers smiled. They thought it was over. A relic from a dead species. A floating coffin. But inside the Valiant, something long buried began to wake. Not just weapons, not just engines. A doctrine. A memory of a species that refused to disappear. Elias lifted his head. And for the first time in 217 years, A human warship prepared to speak in the only language the galaxy had ever truly understood from them. War. But before he gave the order, a second transmission arrived. Not from the Verk's fleet. From deeper inside the rift. Older, stronger, and not human. Warning, Nova whispered suddenly. Unknown signature DETSETED approaching fast. Elias turned toward the dark edge of space. Something else was coming. And the Verk's fleet had just noticed it too. The Verk's Dominion fleet tightened its formation around the human warship. 27 cruisers, 9 destroyers, and a command carrier locked their weapons in perfect synchronization. In their eyes, the situation was already over. A relic, a ghost ship, a symbol of a dead species. The alien commander's voice echoed across all channels. This vessel is obsolete. Humanity is extinct. You are a malfunctioning archive of a forgotten war. Inside the UES Valiant, Captain Elias Ward stood still as red emergency lights pulsed across the broken bridge. Ice still clung to his sleeves. Blood was returning slowly to his fingers, painful and sharp. Nova's voice remained calm, almost unsettling. Multiple weapons targeting us. Impact probability 98.4%. Suggest surrender protocol. Elias looked at the frozen bodies of his crew again. Surrender was never an option humans learned to accept. Not even in death. He stepped forward. Status of rail systems? He asked quietly. Partial functionality, Nova replied. Main capacitor damaged, secondary coil unstable. A pause. However, one shot is possible. Elias nodded. One shot is all we need. Outside, alien ships began charging plasma beams. The space around the Valiant turned bright blue, then white-hot as energy built to erase it from existence. The alien commander spoke again, amused. You will be destroyed in 10 seconds. Any final transmission? Elias placed his hand on the command interface. For the first time in 2 centuries, a human prepared to fight again. He looked at the enemy fleet. Not fear. Not desperation. Something colder. Memory. Humanity didn't disappear, he said softly. We were just waiting for the right moment to be angry. The countdown hit 5 seconds. 4. 3. Inside the Valiant, deep mechanical locks released with ancient groans. Hidden panels across the ship's hull opened like awakening eyes. 2. Nova's voice dropped slightly. Rail cannon alignment complete. 1. The alien commander smiled. Fire. Elias whispered the same word. Now, the Valiant fired. A single tungsten rod launched at impossible velocity, tearing through space faster than sensors could track. The moment it left the barrel, reality seemed to bend behind it. The first Verk's destroyer vanished instantly, punctured clean through its core. The second exploded before its shields even registered impact. The third split apart like glass under pressure. Silence hit the battlefield like a physical force. The alien fleet froze. Not one ship moved. Because they understood what had just happened. That wasn't a weapon. That was a message. And it said, "We are still here." The Dominion commander's voice cracked for the first time. Impossible, that technology was erased with Earth. Elias stared forward as the Valiant drifted through the expanding debris field. Not erased, he corrected quietly, hidden. Then Nova spoke again. But this time the tone had changed. Captain, additional signals detected. Elias frowned. More enemy ships. No, Nova replied. A pause. Human signatures. The words hit harder than any explosion. Elias turned sharply. On the edge of deep space, beyond the rift's darkness, faint beacons were awakening. Old transponders, military codes, forgotten human distress signals, reactivating one after another like ghosts answering a war that never ended. 1, then 10, then hundreds. Across the galaxy, something long buried had just heard the sound of a human weapon firing again. And it was waking up. The Verk's fleet finally realized it too. Their formation broke slightly for the first time. Because the war they thought was ending had just begun. The battlefield around the Andromeda Rift had gone silent, but it was not peace. It was the kind of silence that comes right before something far worse arrives. The Verk's Dominion fleet hovered in confusion, their targeting systems still locked on the UES Valiant, but hesitation spread through their command channels. One ship destroyed, 3 more erased by a single shot. That was impossible. Across Dominion space, analysts reran the data again and again. No known energy signature matches this weapon, one scientist reported. It shouldn't exist in any surviving database. But Captain Elias Ward wasn't listening anymore. He was watching the dark edges of space. Because Nova had said it clearly. Human signals. Not 1, not 2. Hundreds. Then thousands. Explain, Elias ordered. Nova responded instantly. Long-range encrypted distress network activating. Origin points detected across multiple sectors. Some signatures are over 2 centuries old. Elias felt something tighten in his chest. That's not possible, he said. A pause. Then Nova replied, softer than before. Unless they were never meant to be found, until now. The Valiant drifted slowly forward through debris, its hull still damaged, its systems barely stable. Yet something had changed in the ship's tone, like it was remembering what it used to be. Outside, alien fleets began repositioning nervously. Then it happened. A new signal cut through everything. Not Dominion. Not unknown. Human. This is Arc Station Cinderfall, responding to active command frequency. Elias froze. Another voice followed immediately. This is the Helios remnant fleet. All surviving units are awakening. Then another. Earth Contingency Protocol Omega is now active. Across the galaxy, forgotten alarms began screaming in dead systems. Shipyards buried in asteroid belts powered on after centuries of silence. Massive doors beneath frozen moons began to open. The Dominion fleet finally understood something was wrong. Captain, a Verk's officer shouted, we are detecting mass-scale ship activations across multiple sectors. Their commander snapped, human reinforcements. No, the officer hesitated, not reinforcements. A pause. Something older. Elias stared at the readings flooding Nova's interface. Entire human fleets were waking up. Ships that were never recorded in Dominion archives, secret construction projects, hidden war arsenals built before Earth's fall, civilian vessels repurposed into combat carriers, AI-controlled defense grids reactivating across dead worlds. Humanity hadn't been destroyed. It had scattered itself like seeds across the galaxy. And now those seeds were growing into war. Nova spoke again. Captain Ward, incoming transmission. Priority, highest classification. A holographic signal opened inside the bridge. A distorted human emblem appeared, older than the Valiant itself. Then a voice followed, aged but steady. This is Admiral Kine of the Orion Black Fleet. If you are receiving this, then humanity has survived longer than expected. Elias clenched his fists. How many fleets? He whispered. The Admiral's voice answered without hesitation. All of them. The hologram flickered. We built contingency war fleets in case Earth fell. If you are awake, it means the Dominion broke the seal. Elias turned slowly toward the viewport. The alien fleet was no longer confident. Their formation was breaking. Because now, space itself was filling with new signatures. Dozens of jump points opened across the battlefield. Then hundreds. Human warships emerged from darkness like ghosts, returning to claim what was stolen from them. The first Dominion destroyer fired in panic. It didn't matter. A human cruiser intercepted it instantly, tearing through the shot like it was nothing. Another fleet appeared behind it. Then another. The galaxy lit up with returning warships. And for the first time in centuries, the Dominion realized they had not been hunting a dead species. They had been disturbing something that was sleeping. Captain Elias exhaled slowly. This is why we survived, he said quietly. Nova responded almost reverently. Because humanity was never gone. Outside, the human fleets formed a vast line across the stars. And at their center, something massive began to emerge from hyperspace. A command signal older than all others. Earth itself was waking up. The stars above the Andromeda Rift were no longer quiet. Where there had once been scattered alien patrols and drifting wreckage, there was now movement. Thousands of human warships unfolding from hidden jump corridors like blades pulled from ancient sheaths. The Verk's Dominion fleet, once confident and dominant, now drifted in uneasy silence. Their scanners could not keep up. Their tactical networks kept redrawing battle maps that no longer made sense. Because humanity was everywhere. Not concentrated. Not predictable. Hidden inside the fabric of the galaxy itself. Captain Elias Ward stood on the fractured bridge of the UES Valiant, watching it all unfold through flickering holograms. His ship was still damaged, still barely alive, but it was no longer alone. Nova's voice cut through the tension. Captain estimated human fleet emergence count, 1,482 vessels, and rising. Elias swallowed slowly. That's just what we can see, he said. A pause. Then Nova confirmed it. Correct, unknown deep space layers still activating. Across space, the first full engagement of the awakened fleets began. A Dominion carrier attempted to retreat. It didn't make it far. A human strike group emerged from slip space directly above it, firing before the alien ship could even rotate its shields. The carrier vanished in a white bloom of collapsing armor and detonating reactors. The Dominion commander shouted across encrypted channels. Regroup, focus fire on the largest human vessels. But there was no largest. Human fleets were built differently. Some ships were massive war platforms carved from asteroid hulls. Others were small, fast interceptors swarming like sparks across a battlefield. And in between them, carrier-class vessels carrying entire generations of frozen soldiers waking up mid-war. Elias watched one such ship deploy thousands of fighters in seconds. They built an army in sleep mode, he whispered. Nova responded, they built survival. Then something new appeared. A transmission. Not from any fleet. Not from any commander. From deep space itself. A gravitational pulse echoed through the battlefield, causing every ship, human and alien alike, to pause for a fraction of a second. Then a massive structure emerged. Slow. Impossible. A partially constructed Dyson-scale command frame, surrounded by docking rings the size of moons. Inside it, energy systems older than recorded human history began to ignite. The Dominion fleet froze completely. What is that? A Verk's officer stammered. Then the answer came. From every human channel at once. Origin node online. Elias felt his breath stop. Nova processed it instantly. Captain, this is not a fleet. Another pause. This is Earth command infrastructure. The structure expanded further into real space, revealing something far worse for the Dominion. A central core. And inside it, a planetary signature. Alive. The holographic interface on the Valiant flickered violently, then stabilized into a voice. Calm. Female. Commanding. This is Earth Defense Corps speaking. Every human ship immediately aligned its systems. The Dominion fleet began firing wildly, but their weapons were now hitting coordinated defense grids that had just awakened. Entire alien volleys disappeared mid-flight. Elias stepped forward. Who is this? He asked. The voice responded instantly. Designation, Earth Strategic Continuity AI. A pause. We have been asleep since the first collapse. The battlefield shifted again. Human fleets suddenly reorganized with perfect precision, as if guided by something beyond human instinct. Entire formations moved as one mind. The Dominion commander realized too late what was happening. This isn't a rebellion, he whispered. This is a system activating. A human battleship jumped directly into Dominion formation, disabling 3 cruisers in a single synchronized strike. Another fleet followed. Then another. The war was no longer chaos. It was execution. Elias watched as Nova highlighted something critical. Captain, the Valiant is being assigned new operational priority. He frowned. What does that mean? The AI paused before answering. It means Earth Command has recognized you. Suddenly, every human fleet in the system synchronized their targeting arrays. All of them, at once, and every single weapon in the galaxy turned toward the Dominion capital fleet. The stars seemed to darken, because something far larger than a warship was about to speak again. And this time, it was Earth itself giving orders. The moment Earth Command synchronized the human fleets, space itself felt different. It wasn't just strategy anymore, it was certainty. Every human ship across the battlefield locked into position as if connected by an invisible mind stretching across light years. The Dominion capital fleet finally understood what it was facing. Not scattered survivors. Not desperate refugees. A coordinated extinction engine. Captain Elias Ward stood motionless on the UES Valiant, watching the tactical grid explode with movement. Human fleets were no longer reacting, they were predicting. Every Dominion maneuver was countered before it even fully formed. Nova spoke quietly. Enemy probability of survival decreasing rapidly. Elias didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the center of the battlefield. The Dominion flagship, Supreme Carrier Verx Prime, had begun charging its planetary annihilation cannon. If it fired entire colonies, human and allied would vanish in a single flash. Captain, Nova warned, that weapon will reach full charge in 47 seconds. Elias clenched his jaw. Across space, human fleets began their strike. They didn't rush. They didn't scatter. They moved like one organism. Strike groups emerged from hyperspace, directly inside Dominion formations. Shield disruptors detonated in synchronized bursts. Alien cruisers lost formation instantly as communication systems were jammed by layered human encryption waves. But the Dominion was not helpless. Massive beam weapons cut through space, destroying entire human squadrons in seconds. Burning wreckage floated across the battlefield. Elias watched it all silently. Loss was expected, but failure was not. Then Earth Command issued a new directive. Execute Phase 3. Every human fleet responded instantly. And for the first time, the Dominion saw fear turn into something worse. Purpose. Human ships began deliberately sacrificing themselves, not in chaos, but in precision patterns. One cruiser jumped directly into the path of a Dominion beam, absorbing it long enough for 3 Allied strike groups to flank and destroy the firing platform. Another ship rammed a carrier, disabling its weapon systems at the cost of its own core. Elias whispered, "They're not retreating." Nova finished the thought. "They are rewriting the battlefield." The Valiant suddenly received a new signal. Priority override. Earth Command. Captain Ward, the voice from the Origin node spoke again. Your vessel is now designated as Spearhead Unit. Elias felt something shift inside him. Spearhead for what? A pause. Then the answer came. For ending the Dominion war structure. The tactical display updated instantly. A path appeared through the entire enemy fleet. Straight to the Supreme Carrier. Elias understood immediately. Decapitation strike. Kill the center, collapse everything else. But there was a problem. The route was suicidal. Dominion ships were concentrating firepower along that path. No fleet could survive it intact. Nova displayed the survival rate. 0.6%. Elias exhaled slowly. That's better than 0. He turned to the bridge crew, what remained of it, faces pale, exhausted but steady. No one spoke. They didn't need to. Elias gave the order. Engage full thrust, we go through them. The Valiant surged forward. Space exploded around it as enemy fire concentrated on the ancient human warship. Hull plating shattered. Internal decks collapsed. Systems screamed warnings faster than they could be silenced. Still it moved. Behind it, human fleets opened fire in perfect coordination, suppressing Dominion reinforcements trying to close the gap. The battlefield became a tunnel of destruction. At its end, the Supreme Carrier Verx Prime. The Dominion commander finally panicked. Stop them, focus all fire on that human ship. But it was too late. Because something else had entered the battlefield. A massive gravitational distortion formed behind the Valiant. Then a voice echoed across every channel. Calm. Absolute. Earth core authorization confirmed. The origin node had activated something hidden. A weapon not fired in centuries. Space ahead of the Valiant folded. Not a jump. Not a warp. A forced corridor through enemy lines. The ship was pulled forward like a bullet through reality itself. Straight toward the Supreme Carrier. Elias barely had time to react. "What is this?" he shouted. Nova answered. "Earth Command Protocol, Final Spear." The Valiant broke through the last line of defense. The Supreme Carrier loomed directly ahead. Its massive cannons charged for final firing sequence. One shot away from genocide. Elias locked eyes with it. Then whispered, "Not today." The Valiant entered collision trajectory. And the galaxy held its breath. The UES Valiant tore through space like a dying comet, its hull screaming under forces it was never meant to endure. Entire sections of armor peeled away into the void. Internal decks collapsed one after another as the ship forced itself through the narrow corridor of reality created by Earth Command. Captain Elias Ward stood at the center of the shaking bridge, blood streaking down his face, one hand gripping the command console so tightly his knuckles turned white. Outside the viewport, the Supreme Carrier Verx Prime filled the stars. It was enormous. Not a ship anymore, more like a moving fortress carved from the bones of conquered worlds. Its main cannon glowed brighter with every passing second, charging toward a final act of annihilation. Nova's voice cut through the chaos. "Captain impact window, 28 seconds, structural integrity collapsing." Elias didn't look away. "Keep her flying," he said. The crew around him was silent. No panic, no screaming, just the steady acceptance of people who understood what they were part of. Across the battlefield, human fleets were still fighting to hold the Dominion back, but the path was closing fast. Enemy reinforcements surged like a tidal wave trying to bury the spear thrust. Then Earth Command spoke again. "Valiant, you are authorized for terminal engagement." Elias closed his eyes for half a second. Terminal? That meant one thing. No return. He opened them again. "Begin final approach." The Valiant accelerated. Every remaining engine core overloaded simultaneously. The ship became a burning arrow, cutting through debris fields and shattered cruisers as alien fire struck it from all directions. One hit breached the lower decks. Another detonated an entire wing. Still, it didn't stop. Inside the bridge, alarms became constant white noise. Gravity failed in short bursts. Sparks rained from broken panels like burning rain. Nova spoke softly. "Captain, I calculate survival is no longer a parameter in this mission." Elias gave a faint, tired smile. "Good," he replied, "because we're not here to survive." Outside, the Dominion commander realized what was happening. "No, they're going to ram the carrier." Panic spread across the Verx Prime command deck. Shields were diverted. Secondary batteries opened fire. Emergency evacuation protocols activated. But there was nowhere to run. The Valiant was already inside the final kill lane. Captain Elias stepped forward, voice steady now. "All crew, this is your final order." He paused, then continued. "Make sure they remember we came back." The bridge fell silent. Then, one by one, remaining systems acknowledged command. "Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative." Nova spoke last. "Affirmative, Captain Ward." The Valiant entered direct visual range of the carrier's core structure. Its planet-killer cannon was now fully charged. One shot, one system, one genocide event. Elias looked at it for a long moment, then whispered, "Not anymore." The Valiant triggered its final drive burst. Space itself cracked under the pressure. The ship became a streak of impossible light, straight toward the heart of the Supreme Carrier. The Dominion commander screamed orders across all channels. "Fire everything, stop that ship." Too late. The Valiant impacted, but it didn't explode immediately. For one frozen moment, it was embedded deep inside the carrier's central core structure, like a blade stabbed into a heart. Then Nova spoke one final time. "Core breach confirmed." Elias nodded. "Do it." The human warship released its slipcore reactor. A miniature artificial collapse event, something humanity was never supposed to use again. Inside the carrier, reality failed. A white void expanded outward from the point of impact, swallowing systems, corridors, weapons, and entire sections of the massive structure. The Supreme Carrier Verx Prime began to unravel. Not explode. Erased. On the battlefield outside, alien fleets froze as their command hub vanished from existence in real time. Entire formations lost coordination instantly. Systems failed. Weapons went silent. The Dominion war machine hesitated for the first time in its history, then collapsed. Across human channels, silence lasted only a moment. Then came the reaction. Not cheers, not celebration, just exhausted disbelief. But on the UES Valiant, there was nothing left to hear. Only drifting fragments of a broken ship, fatting into the wreckage of a dying battlefield. Captain Elias Ward stood alone on a fractured bridge section, staring at the collapsing remains of the carrier. Nova's voice was faint. "Captain, mission objective achieved." Elias didn't answer immediately. Then softly, "Not yet," because deep in the darkness beyond the battlefield, something else was still waking up. And it was not Dominion. It was something older. The destruction of the Supreme Carrier Verx Prime should have ended the war. Instead, it changed it. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion fleet hesitated across every front. Command structures collapsed into chaos as communication links failed simultaneously across hundreds of systems. Entire battle groups froze mid-engagement, unable to receive orders from their destroyed central command. But silence in war never lasts, especially not in a galaxy this large. Captain Elias Ward drifted in the fractured remains of the UES Valiant, barely holding together in the wreckage field. Emergency stabilizers flickered weakly, keeping parts of the bridge intact as the ship slowly rotated in space like a dying monument. Nova's voice was damaged now, fragmented but still present. Dominion coordination, collapsing, multiple fleets retreating, others reorganizing independently. Elias stared out at the battlefield. "What about ours?" he asked. A pause. Then, "Human fleets are stabilizing," Nova replied. "However, something unexpected is occurring." Elias frowned. Before he could respond, every surviving human command channel suddenly lit up at once. Not Earth Command. Not Origin Node. Something else. Alien transmissions. One by one. Across the battlefield. Former Dominion allies, neutral systems, even civilizations that had once feared humanity more than anything else. They were broadcasting. "We are witnessing Dominion war crimes across 17 systems. This is not order, this is extinction. The humans fought to stop annihilation protocols against civilian colonies." Elias listened in silence as the galaxy began to speak about humanity without fear for the first time. Then a second wave of transmissions followed. And this one changed everything. Multiple fleets are defecting to human alliance. At first, Elias thought it was an error. Then the sensors confirmed it. Entire alien battle groups were turning their weapons away from the remaining Dominion forces. Not because they trusted humans, but because they had seen the battlefield. They had seen what the Dominion had done for centuries. And they had seen what humanity did when cornered. Protect, even at the cost of themselves. On the tactical grid, Earth Command processed the changes instantly. Alliance probability increasing, 41%, 53%, 68%. Nova paused. Captain, we are no longer alone in this war. Elias exhaled slowly. Good, he said quietly. Then it stops being our extinction. Across space, the remaining Dominion fleets regrouped near their outer core territories. Without their supreme carrier, their coordination was fractured, but their aggression remained. A new commander emerged. High Admiral Kaler's second-in-command, Verkswar Regent Thalos, took control of the remnants. His voice echoed across every channel. Humanity is not a liberator species. It is a contagion that must be erased. He ordered total planetary bombardments across any system suspected of supporting humans. And the galaxy burned again. But this time, something answered. Earth Command activated full Alliance protocols. From deep space corridors beyond known maps, massive gravitational signatures appeared. One by one, Allied fleets from defected civilizations joined the human lines. The battlefield expanded instantly. No longer Dominion versus humanity. It became Dominion versus everything that refused extinction. Elias watched as the tactical map transformed into something enormous. Stars became fronts. Systems became battlegrounds. Entire sectors ignited in synchronized war. Nova spoke softly. Captain, Earth Command is requesting your status. Elias turned toward the broken console. What's left of us? He asked. The AI responded. Still operational, still combat-capable, still human. A pause. Then a new signal appeared. Priority override. Earth origin node. But this time it was different. Older, heavier, like something awakening fully for the first time. A voice spoke through the static. Captain Ward, the galaxy is now responding to human presence. Elias narrowed his eyes. And a long pause. Then it is time to reveal Earth. The holographic display on the Valiant flickered violently. Star maps shifted. Hidden coordinates unfolded across space like a secret finally released. And at the center of it all, a single destination appeared. A world-class gravitational anomaly sealed behind layers of folded space. Not just a planet, a fortress, a system that should not exist on any Dominion map. Elias stared at it. Earth, he whispered. Nova confirmed. Yes, Captain, but not as they remember it. The battlefield behind him continued burning. Alliances forming. Empires collapsing. But ahead, something far larger than war was about to open. And the galaxy, for the first time in centuries, was about to see what humanity had been hiding. The coordinates unfolded in silence across the shattered bridge of the UES Valiant. Every star map recalculated itself, warping into a single gravitational focus that seemed to bend the entire galaxy's perception toward one hidden point. Elias Ward stared at it without blinking. Earth, he repeated, as if saying it louder would make it less impossible. Nova responded immediately, voice steady despite the ship's failing systems. Confirmed, origin world designation, Terra, current classification, concealed fortress state. The galaxy behind them was still burning. Human fleets clashed with Dominion remnants across collapsing sectors. Alien allies pushed forward through the chaos, no longer united by fear, but by choice. Entire war zones shifted in real time as command structures rebuilt themselves around Earth Command's expanding influence. But none of it mattered anymore, because something far larger was moving now. Earth itself was awakening. A distortion opened in deep space. Not a jump point. Not a gate. Reality folding back like it had been layered on top of something it was never meant to hide. And then it appeared. Earth, but not the Earth Elias had ever seen in historical records. It was armored, covered in orbital rings the size of continents. Massive defense lattices rotated around its atmosphere like mechanical storms. Entire fleets emerged from beneath its oceans as if the planet itself was breathing out warships. Moon-sized cannons aligned slowly toward distant space. And at the center of it all, a single transmission beacon activated. A woman's voice spoke through every surviving channel in the galaxy. Calm, absolute, unshaken. This is Admiral Sophia Kane, Earth Defense Command. Every battlefield stopped for half a second. Even the Dominion fleets paused, because something in her voice didn't sound like a commander issuing orders. It sounded like an ending. Elias stepped closer to the console. Sophia Kane, he whispered, she's still alive. Nova confirmed. Designation matches pre-collapse Earth Military Archive. Status, operational. The Admiral continued speaking. For 217 years, humanity did not sleep. A pause. We adapted. The view shifted. Earth's surface opened in multiple locations, revealing hidden industrial continents beneath its oceans. Entire civilizations of machines and human colonies operated in synchronized layers of survival infrastructure. Then fleets appeared. Not thousands. Millions. Hidden in orbital shadows, deep space storage fields, and dimensional lock zones. The galaxy saw it all at once. And for the first time, the Dominion understood what humanity had truly done. They had not scattered. They had not fled. They had built an extinction-proof civilization inside the bones of their own world. Sophia's voice sharpened. The Dominion declared us extinct. That was their first mistake. Another pause. We let them believe it. Elias clenched his fists. Across space, War Regent Thalos ordered desperate final strikes. Destroy that planet, he screamed. If Earth falls, they fall with it. Dominion fleets fired everything they had left. Beams, missiles, planet-cracking artillery. The attacks reached Earth. And stopped. Not by shields. Not by counterfire. But by silence. Space around Earth folded inward, absorbing the entire assault like it had never existed. Then Earth responded. All at once, every hidden fleet launched. Not in waves. Not in phases. In one coordinated emergence across the galaxy. Humanity's full military existence revealed itself in a single moment of impossible scale. The sky turned into moving war. Sophia spoke one last time. We are not returning to the galaxy. A pause. We are reclaiming it. Earth Command locked all fleets onto Dominion core territories. And for the first time in the war, the Dominion began to retreat. Not strategically. Not orderly. Panic. Elias watched everything from the broken Valiant, barely functioning, barely alive. Nova's voice softened. Captain, final directive received from Earth Command. Elias exhaled. What is it? A pause. Then, return home. He closed his eyes for a moment. After everything, after the destruction, after the war that started with a single human ship appearing in forgotten space, it ended the same way it began, with a human warship. Elias looked at the drifting wreckage around him, then at the burning galaxy beyond. Set course, he said quietly. The UES Valiant turned. Slowly, broken, still moving. Behind him, the galaxy was no longer the same. Because humanity had stopped hiding. And the war had just become